This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Danilo's free, and it goes to Gibbs wide.
First time we've seen them attack them, and there's Brandon! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robinson do. Tyler one, he scores! And the city ground goes ballistic! He's through here! And in the end, Forrest will say it doesn't matter how you play as long as you win it. Yeah! Forest Sale, Premier League!
Hello and welcome to somewhat unscheduled emergency part, if you like, of Red Side of the Trent. We've broken the glass open for the emergency one and hit the red button because after 3 months of waiting and speculation, we finally had the news today that Nottingham Forest have been subjected to a 4-point penalty for breaching PSR rules. I'm joined with Reece Lane, who's back from his travels, Lee Clark and Adam Wicklow, and obviously I'm your host, Christian Brown, as always. Thank you all for joining us. I've 14 already. I don't know about you guys, but I was in a meeting when it all kicked off, and my watch just went absolutely ballistic with notifications from everyone, which I kind of have you three to sort of blame for that as well, because I came back to like 41 messages. But we finally know, Reece, and I suppose the important thing is that we actually have the clarity that we know what we need to do now. That surely got to be a big help.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I usually turn my WhatsApp notifications off when I'm driving because they go berserk. But today I made an exception because I've come off Twitter for the time being, and so I thought today I'd make an exception to find out the news, and it was actually I got it from our very own Lee, who put, the announcement should be 2:00, and then literally a second later typed out saying it's 4. So I didn't know if he was doing a tribute to Kenneth Wolf's name when England made it 4-2 against Germany, but so there's some clarity saying, so that's it then. But yeah, it's just, I guess the positive out of it is we kind of know where we stand now, don't we? And we've obviously got this little bit of a break now, which is, I guess, come at a decent time, really, for everybody to get basically the business end of the season is something what we used so much in the Championship when we got promoted. We came back in the Championship and absolutely trounced Blackpool, and that kind of set us on his way to doing the things we did. So, yeah, when we're back, I mean, we're down to business. We've got 9 games, 9 cup finals, really, and we know what we've got to do, and that's start getting points on the board, and we'll hopefully start with Crystal Palace at home.
That's it, mate. I mean, I don't know about you, but like when the notification came through, I was reading through it. I was like, I just wish we had a game tomorrow. I wish we had a game tomorrow. Sort of just go straight in, but it gives us some time to sort of lick our wounds. Obviously, the club have put out a pretty.
I think the disappointing thing on the back of it was the fact we didn't hold on Saturday.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've not been on the last pod, so I've not had my chance to speak about that game. But if we'd have held on Saturday, that would have been a 6-point gap from Luton. Obviously, take away 4 means you're 2 points above them. Whereas now you're kind of giving them a little psychological boost because you've conceded in the last minute to them. And I listened to the opening of the pod today, and you guys were saying they didn't really deserve anything out of the game. Similar to obviously early in the season. Now, obviously, they've gone above us as well. So, hopefully we can turn them tables pretty quickly with the fixtures on, the next weekend of football.
That's it, yeah. Lee, I mean, I suppose obviously just following on from what Risha said actually about the game, I mean, obviously it does make that goal a bit of a kick in the nuts, shall we put it? But I also think that it highlights, from the other side of the coin, just how important it was not to lose that game. Because how we lost that game, we would have been full on panic stations right now, surely.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I wouldn't have put it past the Premier League or whoever it is who decides the points come off, whether it's the Premier League or the committee. If we'd have held on to a 1-0, I wouldn't have put it past them to whip the whole 6 off. That just says what trust I've got in this whole process. again, I don't want that to come across as a bitter comment. I think if you break the rules, you deserve punishing. But you can totally see why Everton's fans are absolutely fuming because none of it makes any sort of sense. But yeah, it was important not to lose that game. I mean, I'll be honest, I was off kind of edging towards must not lose anyway. I know a lot of people said it was must win. But I always maintained that, a bit like Reese 2.0 said on the pod yesterday, Luton is a tough place to go. And, I'm gonna stick like that because at the end of the day, we reeled them off yesterday on the pod. All the teams that have been there and maybe got wins, but they've struggled in the process. So yeah, I think you're dead right. It was massively important not to lose.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've got a comment. Obviously, 29 of you joining, and one is from Justin saying it's panic stations now in the bottom three. Yes, we are, but the difference between losing that game and not was being what? So we'd been 7 points behind Luton now. Am I right in saying we lost that game? Or one? So pick your poison. Really.
It'd be. So what are we? One behind now. That'd have took one off us. Yeah, we'd been 4 points behind them, wouldn't we?
4 points behind them now. Yeah.
They would have gained another 2. We would have lost one, so that means 4 points.
Yeah. So again, pick your poison. Like we'd rather be 4 points off and hoping for us. We can I mean, we've got 9 games left. Obviously, the severity situation is very clear, but the fact of the matter is, Adam, we can fix that in one game. Like such as football.
Yeah, and we've got 2 weeks now for players to get back to a little bit more fitness. Obviously, Chris Wood went off with that precautionary injury, hopefully, and we've said on the pod, like, who would have thought at the start of the season that we'd be lauding that Chris Wood is fit, but he's probably been our most consistent striker this season. So yeah, there's those things. Hopefully, players going on international duty, especially the AFCON guys, come back unscathed. Yeah, it's now down to the players and the coaching staff to really pull together now. It's time for the fans to pull together, whether they like Nuno or not, whether they like the players or not, because I've seen so much things where everyone's like, oh, I don't care about the players, I don't think they care about us, etc., etc. At the end of the day, we all pull for the Garibaldi, don't we? It's time to get that war cry out and siege mentality like Everton did and start winning some football matches. Because at the end of the day, if we'd looked after ourselves at the start of the season and in recent weeks where we've gave away stupid goals, we'd probably be laughing that we're still mid-table and had a points deduction, because inevitably we've shot ourselves in the foot countless times. Forget about the refereeing decisions as well. It's on us. And hopefully it will be decided still by the football left to play whether we stay up or not, because that's how it should be.
I mean, we played a points deduction in goal for half the season, so
yeah. I mean,
at least we've got an official writing this time.
I mean, in the words of Steve Cooper, he did not cover himself in a lot of glory.
No, he definitely not. Reece, obviously, you've been delving through the report a little bit, and I have to say, I mean, we were way off because we were on the assumption that it was anywhere between what's it, like 1p and 29 million at the very worst. Even then, we didn't think of anything like that. But £34.5 million over is quite a lot. And that's a lot more than I was expecting. I won't lie. I thought we'd be around maybe the £10-12 million mark. I thought maybe some of the January signings might have pushed that over. But that is a lot. And especially more baffling considering that, and obviously this is also in hindsight, so it's very easy to say. But one thing that came out today, which wasn't reported at the time, was that Atletico Madrid bid £42.5 million for Brennan Johnson on deadline, pretty much, for PSR. So obviously, had we accepted that, we'd have been fined by £7.5 million. In the end, we sold Johnson for £5 million extra. I know we were holding out for 50, but you've also sold someone in our league. I mean, not saying that we're going to be kicked with Spurs anytime soon, but let's say, hypothetically speaking, we play Spurs in a couple of weeks, don't we? Let's say he scores an assist and we go back in the bottom three again. It's sort of like, well, so
that'd be a very football twist of fate, wouldn't it?
Yeah. What did you make of those figures? Because I thought they were quite startling, and I know obviously it's very easy to say in hindsight, but do you think that maybe Forest should have probably taken that offer from Atletico? Obviously, who say he wouldn't have gone, but
I would say yes, but having read little bits of the report, our argument was that Atletico had to sell a player for that bid to be kind of official. So obviously, if Forest would have said, yeah, we accept it, and Atletico were like, oh, brilliant. Well, we've got to sell, X player. We've got to sell Alvaro and Morata, for example. Yeah, well,
It's
he's
probably
at
Felix, yeah.
Barca. Yeah, well, he's at Barca on loan a minute. But let's just say, for example, we've got Sal Alvaro Morata. Okay, cool. What is anybody interested? Is this? So that could have just dragged on, couldn't it? So you can understand why we've kind of turned that down. I mean, whether as well, with respect, if Brennan Johnson would have wanted to gone to Atletico Madrid, I'm saying this as, you know, someone who really likes Atletico Madrid and would love to play for them with the stadium and the manager they've got. But, you know, some English players just don't want to play. Well, I say English, Welsh, UK players just don't want to play abroad, do they? So you don't know on that. And obviously the going over, I mean, it kind of, we've obviously thought, haven't we, really, that we can lose 105 million like all the other Premier League teams. Unfortunately, we can't, which, you know, that rule's ridiculous, to be honest, because, you know, was it 44 million less losses when you're trying to establish yourself in this league, having come up from the Championship for the first time in 23 years. But the rules are the rules, so you have to adhere to them. Unfortunately, you know, we all took the PR to Mel Morris, didn't we, writing his own rules at Derby, and look what happened to them. So, you know, it is what it is now. Like I said in the last comment, we know where we stand now. We will probably appeal. I mean, that's a shot to nothing. So if we did get some points back down the line, brilliant. If we don't, then it is what it is. You know, there's also Everton's case ongoing. And to be fair, they're kind of slipping under the radar a bit with our fans, because everyone's so focused on Luton because they obviously was a team in the bottom three. Everton haven't won in 10. You know, they've possibly getting another points deduction. There was rumours that Sean Dyche had slapped Nathan Patterson. I saw at the weekend in apparently a team bonding exercise, which obviously went well. So there's a lot of football to be played. You know, Brentford aren't out of the cart yet. You know, I think we're only 5 points behind them still. And if we, for example, beat Crystal Palace, I think I just had a look at Brentford's next game, which is Manchester United at home. Man U beat Brentford, then we're only 2 points behind them again. So there's a lot of football to be played. It's going to be like last season, from week to week. It's going to be nerve-wracking from week to week. It's going to change. And we'll just have to see. I mean, I guess the positive for us, another positive, is that we've got 2 back-to-back home games where you look at them on paper and think they're games we can win. Although Fulham are, you know, seem to pull some great results out of the hat. And we know every game at this level is going to be tough. So, yeah, we're just in for one hell of a ride again, aren't we? That's the truth. But hopefully we can come out on the other side and stay in the league for a 3rd season.
Well, to quote Lee, obviously it's the easy way, the hard way, the Forest way, isn't it? But it's quite funny. You talk about team bonding sessions. It reminded me of the one where West Brom had when Gareth Barry hijacked the taxi and went to McDonald's with Pardew in charge. So, I mean, obviously they ended up going down that season. So, if, you know, if history speaks follows, maybe have a point with Everton.
Yeah.
But
it would be very Forest to finally relegate Everton after all the final day heroics they've had over the years. And but also, they've got Arsenal the last day as well. As having a look at the fixtures.
Yeah, as I say, if they need anything going to that, it could be quite problematic. I mean, Arsenal will be probably in the title race to the wire by that point still. So that could be quite. That'll be Sky game 100%.
If they hadn't choked by that time.
Well,
we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see. Lee, obviously, there were 6 mitigations that were factored into the report's thinking, which I'll read out now. So the first one was that we were in a unique position as the only club without higher PSR threshold or parachute payments, which is something we all thought would be factored in. The Johnson sale was seen as a near miss, so that was actually factored in. Most of the excess loss occurred due to promotion, reliance on the COVID ad backs, inaccurate estimation, league placing. Not entirely fully sure on the ins and outs of that one, but obviously promotion bonuses don't count as a loss sort of thing. They're not part of PSR or something like that. But the more obvious ones, and this one I'm very glad was put forward, was that Forest gained no sporting advantage from the breach, obviously because our 3-year spends, even despite going way over, was less than 105 million permitted. And Forest had a good prior record of FFP rules. I mean, those who lived the Fawaz days might question that. And addressed the breach at the first opportunity and made further profitable sales, which I'm guessing occurs to Johnson, Scarpa for 5 million or 4.25 million, and obviously Mangala, which would be up to 30 million. So they also said that Forest cooperated properly with the Premier League, whereas Everton lied, denied, and then eventually came round far too late. So what do you make of all that? I mean, I feel like, given everything at hand, I don't think 4 points is the worst outcome. Bear in mind the Premier League pushed for 8, which I find staggering, by the way. Like Richard Masters, who've listened to this, like it's on site. That's obscene. But from what you've heard from those mitigating factors, do you actually think that the Commission have actually taken a fairly lenient view on our case?
Yeah, I think they probably have. I think it's difficult. I think if it had fallen in a different season where Everton had not already been hit with the 10, I think I read somewhere today as well in one of the bits and bobs that was doing around from one of the journalists that I think the Premier League only put 9 points in place if you go into if you apply for insolvency, don't you? And they've already taken 10 off Everton. So I mean, I'll say it again, make it all make sense.
Which is the ultimate financial disaster as a business.
Exactly. That's yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
just completely ludicrous. As for the mitigating factors, it's very similar to when you have your day in court, isn't it? Touchwood, I've never had one, but I've been and sat in courts before, and you typically hear someone who's done something particularly bad, and you'll get someone stand there and say, "Yeah, but he's been a good boy for the last 25 years. It's his first offence. He promises not to do it again, and you know what? He's going to register at a YMCA centre and help some kids out or something." It is what it is. You might get a year or two off your sentence. You know, it's just how these things happen, isn't it? It's no different. So yeah, I mean, some of them. I mean, I wasn't aware of the one about the we've complied previously with financial fair play and all that. I mean, Dougie Friedman would disagree with that, wouldn't he? When he had to beg, borrow, and steal on no more than about £4 a week and freebies and loans. But yeah, it is what it is. I think we've done very well with 4. I think any sort of point deduction that keeps us within one positive result that Luton don't get or Everton don't get or whatever, I think can only be a bonus. So we're like, one result we can be back out of the relegation zone. 2 good results we can be back above Everton and Brentford. So it's no surprise, shall I say, that Brentford fans seemingly wetting their knickers more than other clubs that we've only got 4, because I think they've won once in 12, haven't they? Guess who that was against? So
Charity
yeah,
FC special, yeah.
absolutely. So yeah, I think I'll be honest. If I was in a Brentford or Everton fans' shoes at this moment in time, I would think it was pretty disgusting. Because I think, especially Everton, having been hit themselves with 10, which was seen as I know they've had but they've had to go through the appeal process. Everton fans must now be thinking, well, we're going to get more points then, because if Forest are getting that, so yeah, we'll have to see. But yeah, I'm not surprised we've used those factors. It's good that we managed to come up with 6. I think that's worked in our favours. And as we've seen from what Kieran Maguire tweeted, they've worked it out as 3 for breaching it, 3 for how much we've breached it by, and then taken 2 back because of the mitigating factors. So yeah, I'm quite chuffed, to be fair. As chuffed as you can be in this situation, shall I say?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
the best of
Brentford
both
have won.
situations,
Brentford have won 3 and 18,
There we
which
go.
is us, Luton, and Wolves have beat. A lot of losses there. Just having a quick look at that.
I
I think
said at the time, like,
just to touch on the fixtures thing, though, I mean, I keep looking at other teams' fixtures, but I don't know if this is testament to the Premier League this season. But there's not really many teams that you can kind of pinpoint as right. Well, they're not going to have much to play for.
no, exactly. It's good.
I've just looked at Everton's, and I can't see them unless Luton, for example, were already relegated by the time they play them 2 games before the last game of the season. Sheffield might be gone by then as well, but that's not till May. And all of their other games, a team's got something riding on something. So I think that can only work in our favour.
It
think
looks
even
like a
Luton,
very
yeah.
Premier League script, that the fact that Everton have got Sheffield United, us, Luton, Brentford all in a row.
Yeah,
Pretty bizarre, though, isn't
So,
it? But
yeah.
I think even like we look at like Luton's fixtures, for example. Only got obviously the next 4 games. Obviously, there were 3 away games that were well documented. They got Bournemouth at home in that time as well. Bournemouth still pushing for top half. The last day they got Fulham at home. Fulham by that point could still be pushing for top half, having found a new Santiago Munez from goal, which they put up front. But he seems to be scoring every week. That bloody Munez looks really good. I saw they had to pay like a £4 million fine to Chelsea for not starting Broher because his kid keeps scoring goals instead. But they still could have something to play for, and also because of the Premier League, the money situation. Obviously, I think it's like £3 million difference between finishing like 14th and 13th. So that all counts. Especially at a time where PSR is so important, like teams can't really afford to sort of go on the beach. So that will have a contributing factor as well. But Adam, obviously, we've just gone through the mitigating circumstances which bailed us out. It would appear that a certain owner doesn't have the same enthusiasm as the club released a pretty fiery statement, shall we say. I kind of love how the first bit sort of like we thank the commission for like agreeing to the deal, and it's essential to the integrity of the league that charges are resolved in the season they're issued in, which is fair enough. And then it's just like about a 15 paragraph onslaught of the Premier League, even and highlighting how ridiculous it all is. I mean, I thought that the whole point of us like initially broaching it very carefully. I know when we first got charged, it was a very short statement saying we acknowledge it, we work with the Premier League, we'll have this sorted out pretty soon. That's very different, which I think says quite a lot.
I mean, it's proper two fingers back up to the league, isn't it? And it's also hilarious that we've even been linked to a Rangers player today as well. It's like, don't even learn our lesson.
Which one?
I can't remember his name, to be honest. He's an
18-year-old boy, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but like, just makes you laugh because like Brighton are interested in just Forest, and you're like, for God's sake, guys, have we not learned our lesson? I mean, I get that it's like an angry statement and everything else, but at the end of the day, the owners and the board and the recruitment also need to look at ourselves. We signed some absolute guff in the last 2 seasons that hardly kicked a ball or even contributed. I mean, in hindsight, Jesse Lingard was an absolute brilliant signing. We thought he'd have the impact that Ross Barkley's had at Luton this season. He did absolutely nothing but maybe sing and dance. Maybe a good team camaraderie. I give him that a little bit. But Emmanuel Dennis didn't really work out. Lloyd Bade didn't even kick a ball. He's gone on to win the Europa League, which is absolutely hilarious in its own weird self, isn't it? Biancone barely played. We've had 2 keepers this season who have been an absolute disaster in some people's eyes, which is fair enough. It's at the same time the club could be angry. Yeah, Richards signed with a broken leg. Same like some of the transfer recruitment you can absolutely applaud. Like Danilo was good last season. Awoniyi good for a bit. Gibbs White, obviously, who we all wanted. Murillo this season, etc., etc. But like both things can be true, can't they? But we're at the end of the day, we've completely ballsed it up. Really, there were so many people where we could just have avoided the expenditure. But it is what it is. I hope that doesn't come to bite us back on the backside with anything if we do decide to go down the appeal route. For me personally, I don't know how you guys feel, but maybe we should probably take it and run with it, and then just get ourselves out with the 9 games remaining, really, because we're only a point behind, as we know. It's not uncatchable, is it?
You've got to
do it.
You've got to
do it. Like, I mean,
the key thing for me is
depends if we lose that.
Yeah,
but they can't add any more points on, can they? So it's either you gain nothing or you gain something back. So
yeah, they couldn't add any more points on if you appealed. It's not like a red card, is it? That'd just be making it up as the bleeding going along if that happens.
Yeah, that'd be ridiculous. Yeah,
unless obviously there's been a deal brokered, whereas the Premier League, well, the independent panel said, look, don't appeal, and we'll give you 4 instead of 6. That might be a deal. I don't know.
I think reading Telegraph, though, was reading Percy's article. He said that had Forest got 6, Forest would have taken legal action. So I think, I don't think they were expecting it to be as high as 4. So that says quite a lot on its own right.
I just think now it's time to knuckle down and start and cut the crap out. Like, let's start getting results, because quite frankly, that's been the most frustrating part of all of this. Really, it's been the players, and I know everyone's going to say, "Oh, it's had an impact on the pitch," but at the end of the day, if we'd won football matches, it wouldn't even have scraped the barrel with this. Really, it would have not even affected us getting a 4 points deduction. Quite frankly,
if we'd have held out on Saturday, would have probably been sat with a fag on there. I know they'd only been 2 points above Luton, but would have still been above the line, wouldn't we? So,
can I also just add, which is a funny thing to say, is I can see why we wanted Michy Batshuayi after him trying to do a spinning back kick to a fan the other day. We could have done all that this season to some of the officials,
wasn't it? Yeah,
I think he got the winner as well, actually, didn't he?
Yeah. The key thing from the statement for me is that we were extremely dismayed by the tone and content of the Premier League submissions before the commission. After months of engagement with the Premier League and exceptional cooperation throughout, which was noted as well, as we said, by the Commission. This was unexpected and has harmed the trust and confidence we had in the Premier League. I mean, come on, how naive are you? Richard Masters literally called everyone else apart from the Sky Six a small club. Like, come on. And he said that the Premier League sort of sanction of 8 points, the starting point, was utterly disproportionate when compared to the 9 points that their own rules prescribe for insolvency. I mean, that is very true, to be fair. That's absolutely ridiculous they are putting that much in. But we'll go for a few comments. Obviously, we can't really have stepped on it thoughts because it's literally news broke about 4 hours ago. So unless you've like working a night shift or something, then we can't really run that. But Rajesh has said, don't know, but I feel okay and excited. It's all in your hands. 4 points, only one game at turn around the deduction. Mark Hill, Forest actually started 6 points, but because unlike Everton, we admitted that we'd done it straight away and so our punishment reduced by 2 points. Yes, that would play a part in the factor, of course. I think that's again Everton sort of held off. Oxy98 says, "Got to be honest, there's a plus for me today, and it's seeing Everton fans cry online and print more corruption posters." I kind of agree with Lee, to be honest. I mean, I'd be feeling furious if I was an Everton fan right now. But it's mental they've been done more because they effectively lied to the Premier League. Like
this is the thing though. Like most people say online, it's like the big six and everybody else, right? So really, the other 14 clubs should be kind of united against this.
It's true.
Yeah, the Premier League, with how they're doing it, is making like us and Everton, who are pretty much stalwarts of English football, want to be ambitious. It's making us two go against one another. When really, that kind of 14 who are looking to get into that top six should all kind of be together. You know what I mean?
The whole point about football is to compete at the highest level, and so that's what every dream's made of. So it just, I do get that it's a close shop sort of approach for fans.
The rules were set many years ago, and the financial world's changed, inflation. I mean, when we spoke about it at the time, back when they made them rules, you could probably get a top player for 50 million. Nowadays, for 50 million, you're buying somebody who, probably got potential. You know what I mean? Wolves spent nearly that on Fabio Silva, was it?
They spent it on Cunha. Wolves.
Yeah. And like I know was starting to look the part before he got injured, but United spent 70 million on Højlund, which is potential. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
AJ says, not one to criticise the owners, but the fan advisory boards and supporters trust should read a report and raise serious questions about running the club. The governance is poor at best. I mean, that would require the supporters trust to be anything useful more than the chocolate teapot, which won't happen. But, and Mark Hill says, should we get a bigger reduction because of Harry Hart making a living off us? I mean, you can make that claim for a lot of players. But as always, thank you for getting your comments in live streams. Obviously, it's only a quick one for us today, just to recap the sort of key headlines of what's gone on. See, Forest now 18th. I guess the key question we'll wrap up with is, despite the points deduction, can Nottingham Forest survive in the Premier League? Reece, first with you.
Yeah, of course we can. It's in our hands still. I know we're a point behind Luton now, but if we was to, win his next two home games, I know this is very easy and we're not playing FIFA, but we'll win his next two home games and I'd imagine we'd probably be 15th, maybe 16th, and then everything looks a bit rosy. Like Adam said, we've just... I know I'm saying to appeal, but you've got to go with the mindset that we've got -4. If we do appeal, which I think we should, because it's a shot to nothing. If you get anything back, it's a bonus. But we've just got to start now winning games on the pitch, starting against Palace. And as a club, the manager, the players, the board, the fans have all got to be united. And like I said, that starts with Crystal Palace. We've got this little bit of a break now. We come back to a Saturday 3 p.m. The atmosphere's got to be good at the levels, and we need to start getting points on the board. And you've got two fixtures, the next two, where you look at them and think, if we want to be like a mid-table side, what we aspire to be in the Premier League, you'd be looking at beating Crystal Palace and Fulham at home. Really, let's be honest, as tough a games as all be. So, yeah, hopefully we can. I know we're doing a podcast at the weekend with a guest, but the podcast post Palace, we can come on here and say we're back out the relegation zone and we can start looking upwards, hopefully.
The dream, yeah. Lee, what about you?
It's all so simple.
I do think we can. We definitely can. I actually think, I said earlier in our group chat, I honestly think we could, if we got 9 more points, I think we'd scrape it. So let's say we did beat Palace and Fulham, we'd have 7 games to get 3 more points. If we can't do that, we don't deserve to stay up. I actually found out a little stat about Palace earlier. And do you know how Forest are really good at ending like really long, unwanted records? Palace
Oh
haven't
no.
Palace haven't scored from a set piece this year.
Arthur,
So,
So,
something to
I mean,
caveat there. To caveat there, something I will add is we really needed that win against Palace last season, if you can remember, just
yes,
before the
yeah,
World
before the
Cup,
World
and
Cup.
we managed to get it. So hopefully that can be reciprocated this season.
yeah. So I still think we can. I definitely still think we can stay up. I think
Yeah.
the next 2 games are just massive.
The players
You-
need to start showing it.
I
Simple
do.
as that.
Yeah. Adam, what about you?
Yeah, in short, yes. I've seen enough from this Nuno side that we can get results and we can score goals. It's just a matter of ironing out the small mitigating factors of why we keep throwing away points. That's down to the players at the end of the day. I feel like he's sending a team out there to go and do the job and get a positive result, and we're just players are just switching off at key moments. Unfortunately, and I know you can say, "Well, don't play them players," but 99% of the job was done on Saturday, and it was just that 1% where we absolutely ballsed it up. Unfortunately, it's really hard for me to say. It sounds like so hypocritical at the same time, but we are almost there. I do think we've got enough in us. I've seen enough from us to beat enough teams in the last 9 games of the season, and I feel like Forest play and perform better when they're under the pressure the most sometimes. Weirdly, also can go completely against us, but I've seen in the last 18 months that we can turn up trumps when we need to. So I know I've got a real belief it is the hope that kills you as a football fan. So I've got to go with it. So yes, we can stay up, definitely.
Yeah, I think full house on that one. I do think we can do it. I think that, like I've said before, I think the performances that we've put out with Nuno, especially in the last few weeks, haven't deserved or haven't got the yield they deserved. Almost, like I said, we should have beaten Luton. We should have got a point against Liverpool. We should have got a point against Brighton. You know, you look at that now, we'd be such a comfy, rosier position, and that's despite the issues that we have. I think that with 9 games to go, no, the players know now, clear minds. They know exactly what they need to do. There's no going into games knowing if we win this, will it even count or anything like that. They know exactly they're 1 point behind the drop zone, so behind safety. They know exactly what they need to do in the next 9 games, and it's up to them to sort it out. According to the data nerds, I think Brentford have the easiest run in out of the teams at the bottom, but Forest is somehow seconds. So we're going to have to make the most of that. We can't keep relying on other teams to bail us out. It's in our, if ultimately if Forest turn up like we can do, I think we'll be fine. But it's just hopefully getting Forest to do that. But as always with Forest, it's going to be a bumpy ride and a roller coaster of emotions, but which will no doubt unfurl over the next 10 weeks or so. But thank you all for coming in today. I think there's 60 of you in total. And yeah, I guess we know now. We know our fate. It isn't 6. It isn't 10. It isn't the 100 we all thought it might be because of the Premier League. So we're still only 1 point from safety. And yeah, let's make that ground absolutely rocking on next Saturday. Until then, come on, you Reds.